and welcome to Rolling with Two. I'm Will, and with me as always is a person always looking for more space for her board games.
Sarah.
And today we're doing a two-player perspective and accessibility for Starship Captains. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right. In Starship Captains, you'll manage your crew to explore new worlds, complete missions, upgrade your ship, fend off pirates, promote your crew, and improve relations with different factions in the galaxy. Whoever does this the best, has the most points at the end of 4 rounds, wins. All right, Will, so how does the game change for 2 players?
So for 2 players, the main board, is divided into 2 sides. One side is for 1 to 3 players, so that's where the 2 players are. 4 players is on the other side. As well as there's a technology board. One side is for solo play, so what you want is the 2 to 4 player side of the board. The 4 player side of the board will also have a couple more tokens. They're going to be triangle shapes that go out on the board. Some of those aren't used in a 2-player game.
Correct. All right, so let's talk about issues.
Yes. For 2 players.
For 2 players, right. No, nothing came to mind. Honestly, this was a really great, good to great experience as a 2-player game. There was nothing that was frustrating when it comes to the 2-player experience.
Yeah.
So what it does well, it plays very fast. I think in both the games we played, we got to the 4th round and Will's like doing all this planning and stuff, and I'm like, Will,
you do realize that
yeah,
we're gonna be done with the game. And I'm like, no, no.
He's planning for another round, and I'm like, there are no more rounds.
But I'm ready.
You're ready to do more. So the other great thing about having only one opponent is you can keep track of what they're doing. So you're more likely to be able to get what you want, or just if you see your opponent going for what you thought you were going to go for, you can shift easily to do something else. In a higher player count game, that's just going to be more chaotic on the board and more difficult to keep track of that type of thing.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's it for the 2-player experience. So let's move on to accessibility. So unfortunately, the crew figures are color-coded. There are a variety of different molds. They did like 2 women, 2 men, a kind of alien kind of figure. But they're randomized throughout the colors, which is kind of cool because it shows diversity. So that's a positive thing for accessibility, is they really want to go for diversity.
Right.
The downside is that makes it not colorblind friendly, so it did one thing good to do another thing poorly. So if you do have problems with probably the blue, and the red is probably going to be the biggest problem, you're going to have to
maybe the blue and the gray?
Maybe, actually, yeah, maybe the blue and the gray, although the gray and the android color-wise are closer, but the android is a very distinct figure.
It also has a hexagonal base, whereas all the crew members have round bases.
Right.
So those aren't going to get confused.
Yeah.
And all the androids are a distinct shape. They don't look anything like the models for the crew members.
Correct. So you're going to want to mark the one of the colors in some way. Like, I know a lot of people use Sharpies. Will, you had the idea of people could sticker the bottom.
Yeah, because it's a round bottom. You could put a round sticker on there. And if you want it printed, you can do P for pilots, T for tacticians, E for engineers, and C for cadets.
If you wanted to. Basically, yeah, if you want to go fancy, you can pretty much do what you normally do if you're used to marking or doing these type of marks for colorblind accessibility. The other thing that's a little frustrating is those triangle tiles that go on the board are very poor contrast. On one side, it's a blue number on a blue background. And sure, when you take a picture, it's bright and shiny. But if you're playing under normal lights and you're looking at it from a distance, it's really hard to read. And
although the blue side is the kind of deactivated side, isn't it?
True, but you still need to be able to see them. When you're reseating the board, you have to do it in order of those numbers.
Right.
So you still need to be able to read them. And then I don't know if anyone's going to have a problem with the other side. It says it's the booklet says it's orange on a blue background. It's a little more red to me, but I don't know. So that could just be a potential issue.
Yeah. I also think that the pirates, so when you have to reseed the pirates, you'll flip them up and then match their contrail smoke to a given route.
Yeah, so the routes at the ends where they connect to the planets have three little colored dots, and that corresponds to the flames kind of coming out of the back of the pirate ships, the propulsion. And it's just a very small colored. I think it's more not that the colors are bad because they're very bright. It was a green, pink, and yellow. But the fact that it's such a small portion of the ship and it's such a small icon on the board, it just might have some vision accessibility issues there.
Right. Otherwise, DIY.
Yeah, so we weren't quite expecting that we would need to assemble the player boards. I mean, the little ships, I understand. We've played other games where you assemble and make the little ship or whatever it is that's your player piece. And this is a little more complicated because it's 3 unique pieces that put together really well. And once they're together, it's not coming apart. But your player board is hinged, so you're going to be popping out all these pieces that you don't need. And so you got to make sure you don't get those confused with actual gameplay pieces. And then there's the double-sided tape. You put it on these distinct spots on the bottom layer, pull the tab off, close it up, and press it together. And it does a really good job of holding it together. The sides can kind of lift apart, but it's more of just the unexpected DIY.
Yeah, there was a lot more prep that came from the box just opening up. It wasn't ready to play. It was okay, let's stop, let's figure out what we have here.
Yeah.
And we hadn't ever seen that, so we were like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So that little bit of nervousness. Now, the reason why they did that was because they said when they made dual layer boards before, they were having problems with warping.
Yeah.
So this kind of solves that issue.
Correct, because when you glue, because that's what they would normally do in a factory, is they would glue the whole thing, the 2 layers together, and the larger that gets, the more likely it is to warp. And so, yeah. So it's a solution to a problem. It's just maybe one that people are not quite expecting. So it might create a small challenge, especially since in the rules, there's only a single picture to show you how to put it together. I kind of wish it was more of a insert that was separate, that had more step-by-step instructions. Especially, it would have been nice to have it larger. Again, vision accessibility, that would have been nice. And same for the ship. It took me a little bit to figure out what direction all the things put together because it's just a single picture.
Yeah, and speaking of DIY, it was a little weird. I kept running across some cardboard chit pieces that were colored, but they were just loose in the box.
Yeah.
And we were trying to figure out what they were. It took near sorting out all the other pieces to realize those were just non-necessary components of the chit board right at the hinge level.
For the board, for the player board.
For the player board that had fallen off.
Right.
They weren't necessary, but they were just loose in there, and we thought, oh man, something's damaged or we're missing something, because they seemed to match up to color pieces, but we didn't have enough colors. Yes,
Yeah.
Unexpected.
Unexpected. So, what it does right is pretty much everything else. It's really good graphic design for everything else. The icons are very unique. You're not going to get confused on what anything does. And the whole game is open information. So if you can't read those numbers on the triangle pieces, hopefully someone else at the table can.
Yeah.
That's everything.
Yes.
So conclusion.
So for 2 players, would you recommend?
Definitely. This is a really great 2-player experience. I had a lot of fun, and while I was ramping towards the end, Will was ramping for 4 more rounds, I guess.
Yes. 2 players, I definitely agree. A lot of times when you have an exploration game and 2 players, you feel like you're maybe doing a small corner of a larger picture.
Yeah.
I feel we actually had a full big exploration experience, and there's still room for more players to fit into this whole game.
Exactly.
So it was a fantastic 2-player experience with tons of replayability.
Agreed.
Accessibility.
Yes, like we've discussed, some people may have some colorblind accessibility issues, and you may have a little bit of a challenge putting the game together the first time. But hopefully you can have help doing so and be able to play the game.
Yeah, I think the small bits that we were talking about when it comes to colorblind issues, because everything's open information, it's really easy to help. They're like, what's this one? That's a blue one. Okay, I know where. And then you can just shove them around on your board to know which ones they are. Not really an issue.
Right.
So, Sarah, as a member of the cooperative,
Yes.
what's the name of your ship?
I have no idea. I will have the Starship Pegasus.
There you go. And live on. And why would you ever roll with just one when you could be rolling with two? And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with Two. That's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And if you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.